You know that burger you're eating? It's delicious, isn't it? Melts in your mouth, just like the polar ice caps, because that red meat is contributing over a quarter of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. And that lime spritzer you're drinking, it took almost 50 times as much water to make. Let's find out what the food and beverage industry are cooking up to solve these problems. Today on Blank Canvas, we're talking about the Passionates, a rapidly growing consumer group who make their decisions based upon their values and principles. The Passionates won't buy from, work for, or trust a company unless they're taking action on the issues the Passionates care about. Issues like climate change, sustainability, waste, and social justice. And thanks to social media, they know about everything, from supply chains to the treatment of employees, to what a CEO wears when she takes the kids for ice cream. And yes, it's a fanny pack. The Passionates are not only the most loyal customer base, but more than half of them are millennials and Gen Z, so the future of business depends on them. People love to think about food. We love to talk about food. We even love to take pictures of our food. I cannot tell you how many times I've been at a restaurant with friends in the before times, and the food comes and I grab a fork and my friend is like, "Hold up, I gotta take a picture of your tacos. Move your head, you're blocking the light." By the time the photo shoot is done, my food has 3 outfit changes and I have to send it back because it's cold. But today, we're talking about how environmentally conscious Passionates are changing the food and beverage industry. You're not sure why the industry needs to change? You might think again after we look at some nasty numbers. According to Forbes, food production contributes to 26% of global carbon emissions, while the World Resources Institute estimates that global food demand is expected to grow by 56% by 2050. And yet the food industry needs to reduce emissions by 2/3 in that same amount of time in order to hold the global temperature increase and combat the negative effects of global warming. On top of that, food production accounts for 66% of total water consumption. Feeding the world's population requires 53 million gallons of water, or roughly 33 toilet flushes worth of water, per second. So yeah, those are some nasty numbers. But we haven't even tackled the nastiest one of all. According to the UN, an estimated 1.3 billion tons of food is wasted worldwide each year. That's 30% of all of our food. You want to see what that looks like? Well, check this out.
Hi, I'm Tracy, and this is my kitchen. Now, as a mom of 2 kids, we go through a lot of food in this house, and unfortunately, we waste a lot of it too. Now, I'm about to do my weekly shopping trip, so we're gonna go through the fridge and find out what's gone bad, what's expired, and what we need to throw away. Let's do this. Look at all this wasted food. And it's a lot, at least 30% of what was in the fridge, if not more. And this is what my fridge looks like now. There's more room, but it's still pretty full. So it's made me realize I don't need to buy that much at the store. Now, I know this seems like a lot of waste, but please don't judge. See, I do my part. I drank all the wine in the house this week. Not one drop is going to waste over here. That's good.
Thanks, Tracy. Looks like you really deserve that wine. Now let's take a look at some of the creative ways that companies are responding to these global issues. Let's start with lunch. Nothing says lunch like a classic tuna sandwich. According to Forbes, Bumble Bee is using blockchain technology to track the entire journey of its yellowfin tuna, from the Indonesian Ocean to the dining room table. This contributes to sustainability, as consumers can make sure that environmentally safe practices were used, efficiency, by letting fishermen know which areas are historically the most fruitful, and safety, as consumers can verify that their food has passed all the safety standards. Customers are able to scan a QR code on the tuna's packaging and immediately find out where the fish was caught and if sustainable practices were used to catch it. If only dating apps had that kind of transparency. Let's move to the tasty beverage you're using to wash down your lunch. A major problem in the food and beverage industry is water waste, and soft drink giant Coca-Cola is doing everything it can to clean it up. On a public website, the company revealed a water waste management program where the goal is replenishing the water used in its manufacturing process and putting it back into the communities and back into nature. So far, the company has replenished 191.9 billion liters, which is roughly the size of 500,000 swimming pools, enough for one really big, really gross Vegas pool party. To implement its water management plan, Coca-Cola has spent about $1 billion to get all of its bottling plants across the world to adapt its technology and processes. And if that sounds like a lot of money, it's because it is. Just counting to $1 billion would take you 31 years and 250 days, and it would be a giant waste of time, even if you're quarantined, even if you've run out of puzzles. It's time for our big story. Every time you say, "I'll take this to go," what you're really saying is, "I'll take this to go in a landfill where it will stay for eternity." So just how big of a plastic problem do we have on our hands? Well, we gave you some nasty numbers before, but now it's time for damn, look at those digits. The average piece of plastic is used for just 12 minutes, yet it takes 450 years to break down. Talk about a terrible return on investment. Almost 80% of all plastics ever produced are now piled up in landfills, and only 9% of the world's plastic actually gets recycled. 32% of plastic produced annually is polluting our oceans. And the passionates, they're rightfully focused on the food industry, because 40% of all plastic produced comes from food and beverage packaging. Now that we know a little bit about the impact plastic packaging has on the environment, I want to find out more about how companies can make positive changes. So here to fill us in is the head of Plastics, Waste, and Business at World Wildlife Fund, Erin Simon. Erin, welcome to Blank Canvas. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I want to ask you about the sort of holistic nature of the work that you're doing. What have you seen in terms of the impact of passionate consumers who want to be a part of the solution on this?
From the beginning of this, right, we saw these crazy images. Different species entangled in nets. You saw the turtle with the straw in its nose. And all over the world, we had the exact same response, right? Something is not as it should be. And so you see individuals really wanting to act. They're just super passionate about solving this problem because it's very tangible to them. And whether that's those simple acts of refusing a straw or reusing a bottle or a bag, but now they want to do more, right? They want to advocate in their communities. They want to advocate through their wallets.
I've been hearing about these plastics pacts. The US has one, Europe has one. Can you explain what those are?
The idea is that we want equity of access for recycling to then provide a high quality secondary market for people, for companies to buy from, right? That takes really good legislation that provides a funding mechanism for that so that that money can go and be invested in infrastructure and technology, provides metrics and measurement. It requires companies to commit to designing their products to work in that system. So that's a lot to do. And so these pacts have aligned around that vision and an ambitious set of targets to meet them by 2025.
I remember finding out that all the recycling I was dutifully putting in my blue bin wasn't going anywhere because China was rejecting all of America's trash. Can you talk about how that circumstance might be different now that we're getting our Plastic Pact Act together?
Yeah, historically, we were doing this thing where we were selling our trash to others to manage. And that worked out well because we got money and we didn't have to do anything with it. But now, China, for example, was like, hey, you're not sending me quality stuff, right? We weren't sending them quality stuff. We were just sending them all. And we were saying, just figure it out. So I know it can be frustrating at times. And here's where it gets hard, right? Because in systems change, everybody has to lean in together in their part, right? But you just have to trust, right? There's a certain amount of trust that the other part of the system, which is in this case, right, as an individual, I need to trust that the recycling systems in the US are gonna get fixed. We know recycling's broken. We know we have too much plastic waste. We know we have too many single-use items. So there's all these things that we know. We just have to sort of fix those pieces at the same time in a way that they all sort of connect together in the end. Hopefully that answered that question.
It very much answered that question. Thank you, Erin. It has been such a pleasure talking with you about the WWF and the food industry and your role, plastics, waste, and business. I feel really inspired. Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
We talked about the US Plastics Pact, but luckily it's not the only initiative to reduce plastics consumption. In 2020, 15 governments and 66 companies came together to form the European Plastics Pact. Other countries are taking up the fight against plastic waste as well. Ghana has committed to having 1 million metric tons of plastic collected, recycled, or reused by 2030. They're aiming high, much like I did when I committed to wearing pants 1 day a week at the start of the pandemic. Side note, you're lucky today's shoot fell on Pants Day, I'm just saying. Now, to make this possible, Ghana is piloting software that lets us map waste so we know where trash goes and what happens to it in real time. The goal of the software is to help recover and recycle resources. Now, I know some of you don't think your individual choices can make a big impact, and you're probably right. Alone, your choices will not drive the big change we need. But if we all put the planet first when we make our buying decisions, then we can create that lasting change. Together, we got this. So I'll see you next time on Blank Canvas.